When my son was only 21 months old, he was diagnosed with autism. Even before his diagnosis, from about 11 months of age, we felt that something was not quite right. He seemed fiercely independent. Later, we thought that he might be deaf because he would never respond to his name. On a few occasions, his mother would sneak up from behind and loudly clap her hands in hopes for a reaction. No response. But then 2 minutes later, he would jump and sprint to the faint noise of his favorite TV show coming from 2 rooms over. He never cried when he fell. Fans and exit signs mesmerized him. He could preoccupy himself for hours with light switches and our electric thermostat. And he would rarely, if ever, smile at his mother and I. Shortly after the diagnosis, we lived in denial for about a week. And for about 2 weeks, we cried. And then we finally got to work. We chose a therapy called ABA, Applied Behavioral Analysis. Essentially, this program consisted of therapists coming over to our home for 4 to 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, working on skills to help our son overcome his deficits.
Good work!
It was at this time we met and hired a 19-year-old therapist named Kelly. Now, what made Kelly unique was the fact that Kelly was autistic. But despite her autism, Kelly holds a full-time job as a therapist, and she also attends the junior college majoring in psychology. To meet her, you would never think of her as autistic. Just a little quirky, just a little shy. For us, what made Kelly truly remarkable was the fact that she could help us understand our son's world. Let me ask you this, roughly, just estimate, how many kids have you worked with?
300.
You don't feel handicapped cognitively?
No.
Or educationally?
No.
Do you feel handicapped emotionally?
Yeah. A normal person could feel like an autistic person if they were in a room with like 3 radios on, and they were all turned up as loud as they could go, and it was all on static channels. And they had clothes on that were soaked in starch the night before and that looked like made of wool. And their shoes were like 2 sizes too small. And there was like a disco light going on, and then imagine someone coming in and reading like a 1-page essay to you. Have you ever worked with somebody that just recovered? Well, it has did pretty well and has recovered to be very indistinguishable. Oh yeah.
One of the reasons that I wanted to invite you here is because basically, Potion has, like, all of you have taken your children as individuals and looked at what might help them physiologically and mentally and socially and developmentally. I've just been absolutely astonished by the amount of progress that Potion has had in the last year and a half with him.
I'm not sure what everyone else has done. I'm sure that everyone else here has done pretty similar stuff. I think my thing was that I just followed her lead all the time. If my kid spun, I would spin. If she climbed up on tables, I would climb up on tables. If she hand flapped, I'd hand flap. If she rocked, I'd rock. Everything short of the physical stuff that she would do to herself, like, scratching her face or pulling her hair out or hitting herself, I wouldn't necessarily follow along with that. But I really found, though, that when I did those repetitive things with her, there was a connection that would happen between us that was just, I can't even put into words. Like, it was just so profound. We used to be that, we couldn't go to the park without her lying down in the middle of the sidewalk. So I'd lie down in the middle of the sidewalk with her, just little things like that. And she says the same line over and over again, and asks same question over and over again. I just keep saying the same question back or answering the same way. And then I keep doing that for quite a long time. And then I'd sort of put a spin on it and try to open up another route. I don't know if that's the right way to do it or not, but I also, because she has so many allergies and stuff, I cut out, everything that she even had a mild intolerance to. I definitely went gluten-free, casein-free, which I'm sure that a lot of you guys have probably done. I've gone the biomedical route as well with it. And yeah, I mean, I definitely have a healthier kid, and I have a happier kid for it. She has made a lot of big improvements, but she's really worked hard. She's definitely been busting her butt, but it certainly hasn't been easy at all.
I can't stand the fact that as soon as people find out I have an autistic child, children, one of the first responses has a tendency to be, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I'm like, why would you apologize for me having my kid? I love my kids, you know? But people automatically have this image, and they hear autism and gosh, they just think that's the worst thing ever. That's incredibly frustrating, but it's harder on the children than it is on us. They're the ones who are trying to fit in, and the way that I look at it is, it's like my boys are at a dinner party where everybody is dressed up in tuxedos and dinner gowns, and my boys showed up in swimming trunks. But they're not allowed to leave. They got to go make eye contact, and they've got to go talk to people, and they have to not notice that everybody's looking at them. And I think that's the best way to describe it for people who don't really deal with autistic people that often. It's probably the best metaphor I can come up with.
If anyone else has a problem with it, I mean, forget them. You know, but I have found that I've done that a lot. You know, I will go out and say if my kid's having a meltdown or something, I'll apologize, and it's...
I think we've all done that.
I hate it when I do that, though, because for what? For being who she is? It just makes no sense to do that. That's one thing I wish I'd stop doing. I do it far too often. Or used to. I guess I haven't had to do that so much now, but I used to do that an awful lot.
I think maybe as she gets older, you may go through stages of, like right now you're going through apologizing for her. There may be the next stage where you turn around and you kind of just, give them the middle finger. Yeah. I went through that stage. And then you go through another stage where it's like, like LeeAnn. You just kind of look at them, and then if they don't look away, you kind of say, well, my boys have autism. What's your daughter's problem? So, you go through these stages. That's why I have a tendency to kind of, behind the back, when they're all kind of looking at us walk away, my finger automatically goes up.
Love it. I had one guy approach me, and I was in a parking lot, and it was the usual thing back then. Try to put my kid in a car seat. Well, good luck. And so she was, we're having the obligatory meltdown while I was trying to stuff her into a car seat. I had a guy come up to me, a complete stranger. He said to me, what you need to do is you need to discipline your child more. You need to give her a smack. Parents like you need to give your kid a smack when that happens. And I turned to him and I said,
he said smack.
Yeah, give a kid a smack. I turned to him and I said, I'm not really in the habit of beating children with disabilities. He looked shocked and said, oh, I'm so sorry. And I said, yes, and that's why you're turning around and you're going back to your car. I have had people do that, come up to you in public and, can't you control your child? And no, I can't. Would you like to try? It's amazing sometimes what people will say, and it's like, it hasn't happened for a really, really long time. But I think the last time somebody said something like that to me, I just started laughing at them.